Guess who went shopping? Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, I'm Stella and I love making miniatures for my Barbie's dollhouse using mostly cardstock. In today's video, I'll show you how to make a bunch of mini brands inspired miniature makeup for your dolls. And as always, I have free printables and templates to help you make your own version. You'll find all the infos and the download link in the video, so now let's get started. To make a bottle of liquid foundation, cut this part a bunch of times and stack all the layers together until you get to a final piece that's around 5mm thick. As usual, I suggest using cardstock from old packagings for this, since it's quite thick but easy to cut, and it's basically free. Next, cut this little strip into copy paper and glue it around the piece we just assembled this way. This will conceal the layers of cardstock underneath, making the bottle appear smoother. Paint the little bottle in a skin tone-like shade. I made one for darker skinned dolls and one for paler skins. Next, cut this tiny little strip into copy paper and roll it around a toothpick, adding glue as you go. Trim the toothpick and sand it so that it's at the same level as the strip. Then cut this part a couple of times and glue it to the top of the small cylinder. And for parts as tiny as this one, I suggest using a lightweight kind of cardstock as it's easier to achieve clean cuts. Paint the entire piece with black paint. Then trim and sand the toothpick like this. And attach the finished piece to the top of the bottle this way. Cover the bottle with a generous coat of clear nail polish so that it looks like it's real glass. Next, print and cut this little label. As always, I use my selfie printer, but you can use any color printer, and if you don't have photo paper available, you can achieve that glossy finish by covering the paper with a piece of clear tape, as I showed you in this tutorial. Tape the label to the bottle this way. Now, if you've been following my channel, you may have noticed that recently I've been kind of obsessed with making miniature packaging, and to make one for our miniature foundation bottle, simply print and cut this part, then fold all the sides and glue the tabs to create a little box. To make a little contouring kit, start by cutting this circle a couple of times and glue the two sides together to get to a thickness of roughly 1mm. I use a piece of black lightweight cardstock, but any other color will do. You can just paint it with either acrylic paints or a marker. Now cut this part twice and glue it to the previous one this way. Next, cover the opposite side of the circle with this part, which we'll have to cut a couple of times. We should end up with this. Now cut this part into lightweight cardstock, paint it in two different shades of brown and glue it into the case. To make a lid, cut this part twice and glue two sides together. Then cut this circle into a piece of clear plastic, and I used plastic from old packaging for this, and glue it to the previous piece. I like to use the E6000 glue when working with mixed materials like paper and plastic, and I'll have it linked in the description if you want to get it, but other multi-purpose glues should work as well. Now cut this part and glue it on top of the others, sandwiching the plastic layer between the cardstock ones. The final piece should be roughly 1mm thick. Bend and glue this strip to the edge of the lid. Then attach the lid to the case, making sure that the connecting strip is parallel to the little groove in the base. Finally, trim the part of the strip in excess. And if you want, you can print and cut this little label and glue it to the bottom of the case for a cute extra detail. And we can also use this template to make a little blush kit. Now, I realized this little case might be a little difficult to cut by hand, so I went ahead and designed another model that should be a bit easier to make. And if you have a Cricut or a Silhouette cutting machine and you want to use that for this project, you can find my digital templates in my shop, and I'll have it linked in the description for you. Cut this part 3 or 4 times and attach all the layers together. Then cut this part twice and attach the two pieces on top of the previous ones. Now cut this part, paint it in two shades of brown, and finally glue it into the case. To make the lid, cut this part twice and glue two sides together. Then cut this into clear plastic and attach it to the previous part. Finally, cover the plastic layer with this part. Then bend and glue this little strip and attach the lid to the base this way. And once again, you can add this little label to the bottom of the case for an extra detail. And yes, I use a template to make both a contouring kit and a blush palette for this one too. As for the packaging, I simply couldn't make up my mind on the design, so I ended up creating 4 different ones, and I've included all options in the template so you can pick your favorite. And maybe let me know in the comments which one you like best, because I'm curious. To make a tiny makeup palette, start by cutting this part a couple of times and attach the 2 sides together. The end piece should be roughly 1mm in thickness. Paint it black. Then cover one side with this part, printed on regular copy paper. Next, cut this part and glue it to the piece we've just assembled. And once again, I figured that all these tiny circles might be a little too difficult to cut by hand, so I made an alternative version that should be more manageable. Now cut this part and attach it to this one. Fold and glue the sides of the paper layer over the cardstock part this way. And repeat the process to make another identical piece. Next, cut this into copy paper and fold it like this. Glue this part to the 2 rectangles we prepared earlier, this way. Then cut this part twice and attach the 2 elements to both sides of the little cover. Use a dotting tool or the back end of a small paintbrush to give the spine a slightly curved shape. Lastly, glue the palette into its case. To make a tiny sponge applicator, take an eye pin, a paper clip, or a piece of metal wire and cut it at a length of around 2 cm. Paint it with black nail polish, leaving out the first couple of millimeters. Then dip the unpainted end in white glue or resin. I generally like to use UV resin since it can be cured instantly and I don't have to wait long for it to dry. Lastly, cover the little sponge with acrylic paints. To make the palette's packaging, print and cut this part, fold it along these lines, and glue the 2 ends together this way. To make a little mascara, cut this part into copy paper and roll it against a pair of scissors to give it a curved shape. Roll and glue the strip to form a little tube, using a toothpick as a guide to keep it perfectly circular. Next, cut this part, roll it against your scissors, and glue it around the previous piece this way. Cut this small circle and glue it to the bottom of the tube. Then, coat the resulting piece with clear nail polish. Next, cut this strip, curl it using a pair of scissors, and then roll it and glue it around an eye pin or a piece of metal wire to form a little cylinder. Now cut this part and wrap it around the previous piece. Cover the top of the cylinder with some glue or resin. Then paint the resulting piece with acrylic gesso first and then with acrylic paint. I like to start with an acrylic gesso base because it makes everything smoother. Coat the finished piece with clear nail polish. Then take an eye pin, a paper clip, or a piece of metal wire and paint it black. Glue the wire to the little cap. Then trim it so that the whole piece is about 2 cm long. To make the brush, take a piece of black cardstock and scrape it with a coarse nail file. You should end up with this fluffy black stuff. Put some glue on the tip of the wand and then roll it into the fluffy stuff this way. Next, print and cut these tiny labels, curl them a little, and glue them to the mascara's base and to its top. To make the packaging, print and cut this part, then cover the cutout window in the front with a piece of clear plastic. Fold the sides and glue the tabs to create a small box. Then print and cut this part and slide it over your miniature mascara this way. And I've also made an alternative box design for decorative use in case you don't actually want to store the mascara in it. And our miniature makeup collection is complete. As promised, here's a link to the free printable template, and if you also want to make some miniature skincare products for your dolls, you should definitely watch this video next. And this is all for today's video. Until next time, bye!